mile-wide violent tornado, we prefer you go to an underground shelter or a basement or a safe room or something of the like, or just get out of the way.
On May 20th of 2013, an F5 tornado hit Moore, Oklahoma. At a meeting of disaster safety professionals from the government and private sector, Terry Kavner, a Moore City Council member and local business owner, shared his story.
It's extremely heartbreaking. We had approximately 1,200 houses destroyed, several other thousand hit. We had 24 people die. We lost 2 elementary schools. In Oklahoma, the building codes are community driven. Somebody's got to get passionate about this. It's pretty easy to get passionate when you've been hit 3 times. Somehow you've got to get them to envision their community hit by a tornado. And that's tough.
Earthquake, flood, tornado, and wildfire hazard maps demonstrate that there's no place in the U.S. that is disaster-free.
As we model how winds are going to affect the coastline and interior areas, wildfires, earthquake hazard maps, it integrates our latest understanding of how the hazards are going to affect a community or a built environment.
How do we build for the environments we live in? And that is building codes.
Over the years, we've seen that building codes are crucial in the development of structures and the safety of our citizens.
And too oftentimes we've heard this argument, well, if we build homes resilient to earthquakes, they'll be too expensive. The reality is, if they're not insurable, they're not affordable.
The aftermath of Hurricane Katrina is a stark example of what happens to an unprepared community. Loss of life, property, and a displaced population. A 2005 study by the Louisiana State University Hurricane Center indicated 80% of wind damage would have been avoided had stronger building codes and construction practices been in place in the years before Katrina.
But the other piece of this is we too oftentimes find ourselves not really as a nation managing risk well. We price it too low to change behavior.
Many believe much of the damage caused by Superstorm Sandy could have been avoided with better building codes and practices.
Well, I think it would have done a lot of different things. One being that many of the houses would have been in better condition to withstand not just the weather event, but what came afterwards. The fire codes as well as the zoning and how close houses are together plays a lot into that type of resilience.
Superstorm Sandy prompted leaders in New York and New Jersey to improve building codes. Lessons learned the hard way. Leaders at every level of government can promote life safety, economic stability, and overall welfare in the face of natural disasters. According to FEMA, approximately 85% of disaster declarations are due to flooding. The costs are rising, and flood losses now average $10 billion per year. With more than 50% of Americans living or working near inland waterways and coastal counties, nearly all communities can be affected by flooding. Executive orders have mandated elevation of the built environment in and around floodplains when built or substantially repaired with federal funding. FEMA policies enforce a similar standard nationwide, aligning taxpayer-provided dollars with mandatory enhanced construction and rebuilding practices to ensure optimal performance should disaster strike again.
We want to build it right. We want to build it to the latest code and standards. So hopefully when the next event happens, whenever that may be, that building that we funded with our federal dollars is going to have the most resilient building codes and standards within them. So it will be better prepared to withstand to that event the next time that it happens.
Analysis and experience indicate that the most effective building code systems are statewide and uniform.
How you tie the entire building down is much more explicit in the code or has been ramped up to meet some of the new needs that we have.
A recent study found the cost benefit of the Florida Building Code is $4.8 in losses prevented to every $1 spent on new construction.
Stronger building codes make better buildings, it makes better communities, and therefore better places to live for everyone.
Recently, FEMA has considered implementing a disaster deductible, a program designed to reduce federal spending, asking states to pay an initial portion of recovery costs. States could lower this deductible by taking steps like passing tougher building codes, establishing disaster funds, or buying private insurance on government buildings.
And so those are things that we really promote to do ahead of time. Because in that post-disaster stressful environment, it's very difficult to be setting those priorities.
Local leaders have the closest connection to people and can lead the way when it comes to individual disaster preparedness. Plus, communities with model codes that are well enforced experience less damage and lower insured losses from severe weather events.
What really is something that we're very proud of is when local communities adopt those as their standards and codes to build to, because we know from that point forward they're using the best science and best data to build safe and resilient structures.
And in the private sector, there are countless opportunities for partnerships and leadership to help drive the resiliency movement.
Through partnerships with Flash and FEMA and others, a continued educational effort to citizens. We at the Department of Insurance are always looking for new projects, new educational efforts.
In the wake of the deadly tornado in Moore, Oklahoma, a community came together.
We were at a point to do nothing was unacceptable.
The city of Moore passed an updated set of building codes, becoming the first city in the nation to adopt building codes that focus on the tornadic impact on homes. The codes stipulate building practices that would enable new homes to withstand 135-mile-per-hour winds.
We pulled in the right people. We pulled in our home builders. We pulled in economic development. We pulled in our code enforcement. And we got people that we have a great trust level with, that people listen to talk about a problem that we can no longer say it's not going to happen again.